Okay, we're going to try this again. I think this is about my 5th time. I'm quilting some little feathers in what I'm choosing to consider as flower petals in the center of a quilt. The petals themselves have been outlined or laid out with applique bias tape, and I'm just filling in the 3 sections on each petal with this little feathering. If the camera moves, I apologize. I actually have it sitting on the quilt itself because my tripod is not a full height one, and so it's not tall enough for me to position behind me and look over my shoulder. I'll try and keep my hands out of the way as best I can, but it's obvious that I need them to guide what I'm doing. The foot I use is a vintage Elna darning foot. People call these darning feet or hopping feet or free motion quilting feet. Basically, they're all the same thing, and they work in the same way. What happens is there's always some sort of bar or lever that will rest on the needle clamp, and when you put the needle up, as you can see, the needle comes up and it's lifting the foot, and at this point I can move the quilt any way I want to. This is why you don't need to have a machine with droppable feed dogs if you're using a foot like this, because when the foot is up, the feed dogs cannot move the fabric. There's nothing for them to push against, and so it's one of the things that actually makes machine quilting with a treadle, completely doable. It just simply doesn't matter if your feed dogs drop. So I'm at the end of this. As you can see, I'm actually coming along. This has already been ditch quilted, so there's a little row of stitching right along the edge here, and I just came along that for about 1/2 inch tiny stitches to end off. Now I'm going to move the needle about a 1/4 inch, maybe a strong 1/4 inch, and take a single stitch, pull it out from under the needle, grab some slack here, and that's easier if I lift the lift the foot, and then if I back it up again, as you can see, I've just pulled the bobbin thread to the surface, and now I can just cut that off right there, and it's freed up, and I can cut this close to the surface, and that's gone. There'll be a little tail on the back side, and I'll just go back later and trim that. When I'm finished with the quilt, I just flip the whole thing over, and I run over it real quick with scissors and hit all those.